We're going.
All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Tommy George. I'm the sports director for Special Olympics Maryland. I'm also the staff lead for the state bowling competition and training season. This is the Special Olympics Maryland 10-pin bowling preseason webinar. Just a couple reminders off the start. Please hit *6 to mute or unmute your phone. If we can try and limit all questions until the end of the call tonight. Then we'll have a brief question and answer period. And just so you know, this webinar is being recorded tonight, and it will be available to be watched at a later date or a later time via our link on YouTube. So for those of you who are joining us on the webinar portion tonight, the slides that we're going to go over, you will be emailed those slides tomorrow morning in a follow-up email to everyone who was participating in this call, along with any other materials that we may need to distribute following tonight's webinar. So we'll try and keep tonight's session brief. We'll have a quick session, information on administration, paperwork, key forms, and then some events. Our coach certification, rules updates and reminders, some information on qualifying for the state championship, deadlines and dates, resources, and then a question and answer session. And again, this slide deck and this information will all be presented via email to you tomorrow morning in a follow-up email. So first and foremost, work with your area leadership. We need to make sure that all of our athletes have athlete medicals submitted. All of our unified partners and our coaches all have the appropriate volunteer paperwork submitted. You need to work with your local area county management team and their registration people to make sure that you have all the forms in for all of your athletes, coaches, and unified partners throughout the season. And this is for the health and safety and the protection of our Special Olympics athletes throughout the season. Again, please work with the area county leadership before the season starts so that we do not have any athletes or coaches who would then become disqualified as we progress throughout the training and competition season for a lack of paperwork. So, when are the deadlines for this paperwork? If you're looking at the presentation now on the screen, you'll see that there are 4 different registration deadlines listed here. The first one is the training registration. So that is when all the athletes, coaches, and partners, anybody who's going to participate in any bowling competition, training, practice throughout the season, that's when their paperwork has to be submitted to your local area county leadership. Then on October 8th, if we have anybody who may have to have an athlete medical or volunteer application that would need to be updated, the last date that we can submit forms to Special Olympics Maryland is October 8th. Now that being said, we need to have all the information for the athletes training by September 28th, but there could be a chance where a medical could expire in that window or a volunteer application could expire, and we need to make sure that we have all of the proper and correct information in our system by October 8th for Special Olympics Maryland. On October 22nd, that's when we will officially go through and register everyone within GMS. That's our data processing and games management system that we use. 22nd of October is when we will go through and register those athletes, coaches, and partners who will be competing at the regional competition. After the regional competition, we'll have a similar registration for anyone who's qualified for the state competition, and that deadline will be November 23rd. Again, these are the dates that the information is due to Special Olympics Maryland from the local area county programs. Your local area county program may have a different or earlier deadline where they would ask you, the coach, to have all the information collected and submitted. So it's very important that you speak with your local area county management, the GMS registration volunteer, whoever that would be, to make sure that you have all of the applications and athlete medicals in a timely manner presented to them so they can then turn that information over to Special Olympics Maryland. As we stated earlier, no athlete, volunteer, coach, or unified partner can participate in any manner in Special Olympics Maryland without the valid or current volunteer application or medical form. And there are no exceptions to this policy. Now, the athlete medical, to be considered valid, it must include all 3 pages signed and completed, must have all the information required in there, including the signatures, and athlete medicals that are completed are valid for 3 years from the date of the medical professional's signature. On the next couple of slides, you'll see examples of what the the Special Olympics Maryland athlete medical looks like. And again, you can get that form from your local area county leadership to complete for any athletes who would be participating in bowling. Same applies for our volunteers. This includes coaches, partners, and anyone in bowling who's going to be a ramp assistant. They need to also have the volunteer application completed and handed in before they do anything with Special Olympics Maryland in the training and competition season. Special Olympics Maryland will complete a criminal background screening for every volunteer using the information provided on the application. Volunteers must successfully pass the background screening in order to participate in Special Olympics. In order for the volunteer to be eligible for the competition for bowling within Special Olympics Maryland, that application must be valid through December 6th of this calendar year. To be considered valid, all 3 pages have to be signed, the necessary information has to be completed, and all the required signatures must be on the form. If we have a volunteer who is under the age of 18, they must also complete the volunteer minor reference form. And the next couple of slides are examples of what those documents look like. And again, you can get those forms from your area county leadership. If for some reason we have an accident at bowling, whether it's an athlete who falls, we have a medical situation, anything out of the ordinary that could happen while you're at training, competition, practice, or even on the way to or from any of those events, Special Olympics Maryland is going to ask you to complete a first report of accident or incident, better known as the incident form, or the incident report. This helps us keep track for insurance purposes if anything were to come up later on down the road, and it also protects you as the coach and your athletes if something were to happen to them. If anything occurs where you are not sure if you should fill it out or not, the best reference or the best advice that we can give you is, when in doubt, fill it out. The coach or program coordinator should then complete the form and submit it to the individuals listed at the bottom of the form. And on the slides right now, you'll see an example of what that form looks like. And again, you can get that from your local area county leadership. Some key forms that are for bowling specific within Special Olympics Maryland include our sanction form. This is what you need to complete if you are interested in hosting a qualifier. This form must be signed and submitted to your area director, who will then pass it over to our Special Olympics Maryland headquarters. That form is particularly important if you require anything from either your area county leadership or your state office, for example, volunteers, awards, volunteer t-shirts, any sort of equipment that you may need in order to host a competition. Having that form in and completed to its fullest ability allows us to reserve that equipment and make sure we have that equipment for you so you can host that qualifier. Now we'll move along to our head coach certification. So Special Olympics Maryland is now requiring that a head coach from each delegation be certified in the particular sport in which those athletes are going to compete. So all head coaches for bowling within Special Olympics Maryland must have a Special Olympics sport certification valid through the state championship, and that must be completed by October 8th. Each area county program must have one and at least one head coach for each bowling delegation. This certification is also valid for 3 years, and an update will be sent later on this week with learning opportunities and ways that these head coaches can be certified before October 8th. Again, that information will come later on this week. These opportunities will include in-person sessions, live webinars, and/or online courses from Special Olympics Maryland. Now, there are two types of head coaches that would need to be certified. The first would be a coach with a previous Special Olympic sport certification in their specific sport. This person must complete one general or one sport-specific learning opportunity in order to renew. If we have coaches that are completely new to Special Olympics Maryland, they must complete the Coaching Special Olympics Athletes course or the Principle of Coaching course and a sport-specific session if they wish to be registered as the head coach for that delegation. This will apply to all coaches, not just head coaches, at some point in the future, maybe even as soon as 2016. These coach training sessions are very important, not only to our coaches, but to our athletes. And with that, we're looking for areas to host the Coaching Special Olympics Athlete and sport training sessions, not only for bowling, but for many different sports and competitions throughout the season. We need physical space appropriate for the number of participants, and we need a minimum of 5 to 7 participants in order to host the event. Your regional sports director and the staff sport lead for that particular sport from Special Olympics Maryland headquarters can assist with the following. That is clinicians, so that's someone who can conduct the webinar and provide sport-specific expertise. Materials, whether it's paperwork, physical resources, etc. And advertising and recruitment, such as emails to get coaches to come to that particular training, so we have the minimum of 5 to 7 participants. If you or someone within your area county program is interested in hosting a coach training session, contact your regional sports director to plan a session, and their contact information is on the final slide of tonight's presentation. On the screen right now, you'll see a list of online training that we have available that Special Olympics Maryland will provide a subsidy for if you are interested in taking one of these courses. These courses listed here, for the most part, are sport specific, but down at the bottom of the screen, you'll see some examples of general courses, including Coaching Special Olympics Athletes, the Coaching Orientation, etc. The screen will also show you the standard costs, how much Special Olympics Maryland will provide to you for taking that course, and for some reason, if there is an extra fee or if the amount that Special Olympics Maryland doesn't subsidize the entire amount, the amount that it would come out of pocket for that particular coach is also listed there. What is an approved course or a development experience? This would include a live sport-specific training, online sport-specific training, one of the ASEP courses you saw on the previous screen. If the sport is governed by the National Federation of State High School Associations, they often offer courses, either online or in person. Sometimes the national governing body offers online or live courses. We also have Master Coach online learning sessions that are run by our staff from Special Olympics Maryland for select sports. And we have some other opportunities that are listed here in this slide. And again, you'll get to all this information following tonight's webinar. Coaching in general, we have Coaching Special Olympics Athletes, and that course is available online or live. We have the Principles of Coaching course, the Unified Sports course, First Aid course, a Special Olympics Maryland hosted or designed course on coaching athletes with disabilities, pre-approved learning or development experiences targeted at coaching principles and coaching science, and working with athletes with individuals with disabilities. Serving as an instructor for any of these learning or development experiences, or other learning or development experiences with advanced approval from Special Olympics Maryland. They would all fall into the category of coaching in general as a part of this approved course or development experience that is a requirement for the coach certification. Again, in the coming week, we'll provide more information about particular opportunities that are available for Special Olympics Maryland bowling coaches to receive the bowling-specific sports certification that is needed for all head coaches for 2018. So, stay tuned. Now we'll dive into some specific bowling information. The bowling events that we'll offer, again, are singles, traditional doubles, where 2 athletes are on a team, and unified doubles, where we have 1 athlete and 1 unified partner on a team. Just as we've done in the past, our ramp bowlers will be division with other competitors or teams in the same event. Ramp bowlers must be designated as either unassisted or assisted. And assisted ramp bowlers must have a designated bowling assistant provided by the bowler's bowling program. New rules for bowling were provided by Special Olympics International in March of 2014. Those rules are still available, and the rules are unchanged from those that were published in 2012. Again, those rules are available on specialolympics.org. We use the handicap system for Special Olympics rules, and the handicap is normally based on 100% of the difference of the bowler's average and 200. This is a change from Special Olympics Maryland practice in recent years, but not a change in the rules. The number of games at regional and state competitions. At the regional and state competitions, all bowlers will bowl 3 games. If this is not typically done in practices, coaches should work with their athletes to develop the necessary stamina or endurance. Alternating lanes at regional and state competitions. A game typically will be played on 2 lanes or a pair immediately adjoining each other. Members of competing teams, doubles, and single entrants shall successively and in regular order bowl 1 frame on 1 lane, and for the next frame alternate and use the other. At the tournament chair's discretion, this alternating of lanes may be suspended for some specific team. Bowlers should be trained to expect this progression prior to the regional tournaments. Fouls and foul line violations will be called at the regional and state tournaments. Fouls can be called by either an automatic foul detecting device and or a tournament official. Bowling ramps can be used by bowlers who do not have a physical ability to roll the ball with their hand or hands. Bowling ramp must be set either by the athlete or at the discretion of the athlete, either by verbal instruction to the ramp assistant or by a physical gesture. The ramp assistant typically will have his or her back to the pins while setting the ramp. In rare situations where there are unique communication challenges for an athlete, the ramp assistant may turn to face the pins, but all setting of the ramp must be at the direction of the bowler. This is a Special Olympics Maryland modification to the Special Olympics International bowling rules. Coaches are not permitted in the lane area during competition. That is, the area around the scorer's table and where most of the athletes are seated. Coaches can provide coaching advice from the spectator area. Bowlers can go to their coach, but can't leave the bowler's lane or the bowler area. The coaching can also not result in any delay of game. And with that, lane courtesy is expected throughout all of our training and competition experiences. If a bowler is on the approach on either adjoining lane, please wait for the bowler to start their approach before you step on the approach. Always wait for the bowler to your right to deliver his or her ball if you're both bowling about the same time. Remain behind your fellow bowler while he or she is bowling, and avoid using someone else's ball without their permission. Most importantly, be ready to bowl when it's your turn. Alternate. A bowler who's registered for singles may also be registered as an alternate for a doubles event. Alternates do not have to be assigned to any specific team, and a bowler may compete in 1 event at a tournament, and that's only 1 event at a tournament. That is, he may not roll both singles and serve as an activated alternate for a doubles team. Participants are eligible as an alternate if registered as such during the GMS registration timeline. Activation of alternates will be declared by the head of the delegation during the delegation registration period. If a bowler is activated as an alternate for a doubles team at the regional tournament, that bowler may only advance to the state tournament as a member of that doubles team. Appropriate bowling attire is required at all of our training and competition experiences. Participants, including the ramp-assisted helpers, without proper uniform will be disqualified and not be allowed to participate or allowed on the lanes for any reason. All participants are to be dressed appropriately while competing, and the attire must be clean and neat and not torn, dirty, or frayed. Collared shirts must be worn, but the shirts don't have to be tucked in. All competitors must wear bowling shoes, and bowling shoes should not be worn outside of the venue. No hats or rimless headwear is permitted during any competition, unless it is for a religious purpose. More notes on our attire include notes on slacks or pants, and pants that are similar to dockers or slacks, and any other makers of cotton or synthetic material pants are accepted. What are inappropriate or illegal pants or shorts? That includes cutoff shorts, shorts over 3 inches above the kneecap, jeans or sweat or exercise pants, leggings or spandex, boxer shorts or shorts, and clothes that allow undergarments to be exposed. An inspection of all uniforms of all competitors will be conducted prior to each competition. Those athletes wishing to participate in the state tournament must have a 15-game average prior to the regional tournament. And this can be any combination of games played at tournaments, league play, or complete games during the practice season. In order to participate at the state championship, bowlers must compete at the regional tournament. Bowlers must then be selected to advance from the regional tournament to compete in the state championship. This selection process will include all gold medalists from the regional tournament and some silver medalists from the regional tournament. This is a change from previous years due to space concerns that arose in 2013. A random draw of all silver medalists from regional tournaments will determine which silver medalists will proceed to the state championship. The number drawn will be based on the space available and the number of gold medalists that we have. If appropriate, a waiting list will be created to fill any spots turned back and prior to the competition registration deadline. And the drawing will be conducted no later than Tuesday following the regional tournament. These regional bowling tournaments will take place in 4 locations. Glen Burnie at Bowl America, which will host Anne Arundel, Calvert, St. Mary's County, and both the lower and upper shore. Ellicott City at the Brunswick Zone will host Baltimore, Cecil, Hartford and Howard counties, and Baltimore City. Gaithersburg and Bowl America will host all unified doubles teams, regardless of the area. And Carroll, Charles, Montgomery, and Prince George's County. The only different regional bowling tournament location from previous years is the Western Regional, which will now be held in Frederick at Terrace Lanes. This regional will be for athletes competing from Allegheny, Frederick, Garrett, and Washington counties. The regional tournaments will be held on Sunday, November 15th. The location assignments right now are tentative and are subject to change based on any significant changes of the size from any one particular bowling program. The final assignments for each area county program will be made and released no later than October 15th. More deadlines and dates. Again, the training registration deadline is September 28th. The last date to submit those missing forms to Special Olympics Maryland is October 8th, and the competition registration deadline for the regionals is October 22nd. We'll have another webinar on November 5th at 7 p.m., and that'll be the pre-competition webinar for the regional tournaments, where we will provide you with all sorts of competition-specific information on the regional tournaments at that time. The link to register for that webinar is listed here in this slide. Those regional tournaments will be held November 15th, and the competition registration deadline for the state championship is November 23rd. We'll have a second competition webinar on November 30th, and that competition webinar will be specific to the state championships, which will be held on December 6th. Again, the dates listed here on the screen are the dates when the area county program must have the information submitted to Special Olympics Maryland. You may or may not receive an earlier deadline from your area county program where it asks for this same information a few days sooner than the dates listed here on the screen. Please follow the direction and guidance of your area county program. Are you looking for resources to help your athletes or fellow coaches? There'll be a bowling guide from Special Olympics Maryland, an annual document which outlines Special Olympics Maryland bowling rules, competition information, and links to more resources like the ones here below, including online coaches trainings, websites, including MySOMD. The bowling guide will also have information on how to register for MySOMD, and materials throughout the training and competition season will be posted directly on that website. If you can't wait for that long, you can visit SpecialOlympics.org, where there is the online bowling coaches guide that has videos embedded in the document, which are very helpful for fellow coaches and athletes. The Special Olympics rules are also listed there, as well as information on planning a training season. At this time, if you have any questions, you can hit *6 and unmute your phone. Announce yourself, let us know who you are, and ask your question. If you don't have any questions, or you would not like to stick around for the question and answer session, feel free to sign off. And again, you'll receive all this information via email that we discussed tonight, in an email summarizing everything tomorrow. So if you have any questions, the floor is open.
Hi, this is Robin from Calvert County.
Hi.
Hello? Hi. We have a bowler that is visually impaired and does not want to use a ramp. What are the restrictions for him as far as that goes? Can he have someone walk him up to the point where he has to, bowl himself?
Sorry, I was talking with mute on there. I am not 100% sure on the answer to that question. So what I will do is I will find out the answer to that question and follow up with you in particular, but I'll include it follow-up email to everyone tomorrow so that everybody can get the answer to that question.
Robin, this is Mike. Yeah, Tommy will get more detail, but the short answer is yes, within some limitations.
Okay.
Yeah. Good question.
Thank you.
This is Rob from St. Mary's County. I have 2 questions.
Sure.
First question, my sanction form has been sent in, but since it was sent in, the date for my local tournament was forced to change. Do I have to make any modification or just notify you of the change?
Do me a favor, and if you have the same form, just send me the same form, and then send me an email in that same email where you send me the form, and let me know of the new date. Fair enough?
Well, the form's already been sent.
Okay. Fair enough. Why don't you just send me an email with the new date information,
Okay.
and I'll circle back and make sure we get the document.
Okay, very
good. I think Nick has it, Tommy.
Okay.
My other question, on your slide on fouls, it said it will either be called by the electronics or a tournament official. Does the tournament official include the volunteers that are working each lane?
Mike, do you know the historical background on that question of whether or not that is correct or not?
It depends upon who that volunteer is, Rob. I have to give you a conditional yes. And what I mean by that is, if we have folks at the lanes with bowling expertise, then we can make a decision at the tournament to allow them to make those calls. That's not a call that we'd want to have. A volunteer who just showed up for the day and is, excited about helping out, but really doesn't know the sport to make those calls. So is it a question that's specific to your qualifier, or is that more in general? And Rob, your phone may be muted.
Okay.
Rob, you can follow up with Tommy after the whatever. We're not hearing you on the phone, so we'll go into the next question.
Any other questions regarding the bowling training and competition season? Okay, last call for any questions on the bowling training and competition season. And again, you may have to hit *6 to unmute your line.
This is Katie from Anne Arundel. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. The phone seems to be going wacky. I don't think people can hear you all the time. I had mine go out for a little bit and then come back on. So that might be why you're not getting a response from some people.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, no, thanks, Katie. Perhaps, and thanks for bringing that to our attention. If there is anybody, if you can hear us talking right now, who experienced the challenge that Katie just mentioned, please feel free to follow up with Tommy by email for any questions that you might have. And he'll be sending out the follow-up, so you'll have his email there if you don't have it already.
Hey, Tommy, this is Ruth from Frederick.
Hi, Ruth.
Tommy, can you hear me?
Yes, Ruth.
Okay, quick question. Now that we've moved to Frederick for the Western region thing, is there any possibility that we might have room at Terrace Lanes to move the Unified up there? Or do we have too many Unified that they really need to stay down in Gaithersburg?
You know what? I don't know off the top of my head, and part of the answer to that question will obviously be reflected in the registration information coming in the next couple of days. So, as soon as we get that information, we'll pass it along.
Because I know Terrace is a fairly large, bowling alley. I just, like again, I guess it would depend on the numbers, but it would be nice if we're in Frederick to have everything up there.
That the Unified was all held together because otherwise they'd all be going to states with medals because there wasn't enough teams.
No, I understand that. I'm saying keeping them all together, but maybe think of throwing them up to Frederick.
Okay, I got you. I thought you meant to split them up.
Oh, no. Just throw them up to Frederick if there's room.
Okay. That's state's decision. I just was putting my 2 cents in.
No, that's quite all right. I mean, I have no idea how many Unified we have to begin with either, so no, we definitely want to keep them together.
You may continue, state.
I don't think they can hear us.
No, maybe they hung up.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hang on, take care.
We can hear you. It's just very entertaining, and
Okay.
Any other questions regarding the bowling training and competition season?
Okay.
All right, fair enough. Well, if anyone has any other questions that weren't answered tonight, feel free to shoot them in an email to me, Tommy George, or contact your regional sports director, whether it's Melissa Anger, who covers Allegheny, Carroll, Frederick, Garrett, Howard, Washington, Prince George's, and Washington counties, Nick Anderson, who covers Anne Arundel, Calvert, Cecil, Charles, Hartford, St. Mary's County, and both the lower and upper shore, or Sam Hodap, who covers Baltimore City and Baltimore County. Thanks for joining us here this evening, and again, you'll get all these presentation materials tomorrow via email. And if you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to reach out. Thanks for joining us, and have a great evening.
Thanks,
Yep.
Leah.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.